Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment that you are a great mountain. The wind howls, the storms rage, and yet, there you stand, unmoved, unbothered. That, my friends, is the art of never letting anger or irritation touch you. Mastering the art of emotional detachment is not about becoming cold or indifferent to the world. It is about gaining control over yourself in a way that makes you unshakable. It is the ability to observe a situation without becoming consumed by it, to hear words without letting them dictate your emotions, and to encounter difficult people without giving them the power to disturb your inner peace. Most people go through life reacting to everything around them. A single insult ruins their day, an unkind look fills them with resentment, and a small inconvenience sends them into frustration. Why? Because they have attached their emotions to external factors that are unpredictable and beyond their control. Emotional detachment is the ability to break free from this cycle, to remain centered no matter what storm rages around you. Think of a river flowing through the land. When rocks are thrown into it, does the river stop? Does it become angry? No, it simply flows around them. And the river does not resist the rocks, nor does it allow them to alter its course. This is the mindset you must cultivate. The moment you realize that you do not have to react, that you can simply let things pass without them affecting your state of mind, you become untouchable. People often misunderstand emotional detachment. They think it means suppressing emotions or pretending not to care. That is not detachment. That is avoidance, and it only builds resentment beneath the surface. True emotional detachment means acknowledging emotions, understanding them, and then choosing whether they serve you or not. When someone insults you, your initial reaction may be anger or hurt. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, does this insult truly change anything about who I am? If a stranger calls you foolish, does it suddenly make you less intelligent? If someone doubts you, does it diminish your abilities? Of course not. The only thing that can affect you is what you allow to take root in your mind. Detach from the need for validation. Most people react strongly because they crave recognition, respect, and approval. But if you base your self-worth on how others treat you, you will always be at their mercy. Instead, build an inner foundation so strong that no one's words or actions can shake it. Understand this: people's behavior is a reflection of them, not you. If someone is rude, it is a sign of their own struggles, their own lack of control. Do not make their problems your burden. There is great power in the ability to remain calm when others expect you to react. Imagine someone trying to provoke you, raising their voice, insulting you, expecting a reaction, but you do not give them one. Instead, you remain composed, unbothered. What happens? They lose their power over you. They become frustrated, realizing that they cannot control your emotions. And in that moment, you win, not because you fought back, but because you refuse to be pulled into their chaos. One of the most effective ways to practice emotional detachment is through observation. Become an observer of your own emotions, rather than a prisoner of them. When something bothers you, step outside of yourself for a moment. Observe the feeling without judgment. Ask yourself, why does this affect me? What belief or expectation do I have that makes me react this way? Often, you will find that your emotional responses come from old conditioning, from patterns you have carried for years without questioning them. Once you become aware of these patterns, you can break free from them. Another powerful tool is the art of pause. In any situation where you feel a surge of anger, irritation, or frustration, train yourself to pause before responding. In that pause, you gain clarity. You give yourself the space to decide whether the reaction is necessary or if it is simply a habit. More often than not, you will realize that you do not need to respond at all. Detachment does not mean disengagement. You can still care, you can still have meaningful connections, but you do so from a place of strength rather than dependency. You interact with the world without letting it dictate your inner state. You listen without taking offense. You observe without absorbing negativity. Emotional detachment is the ultimate freedom. It allows you to walk through life with a quiet confidence, unshaken by the opinions or actions of others. It is a skill that, once mastered, will give you a level of peace and power that few ever attain. And the best part, it is entirely within your control. Control is an illusion. This is a truth that, once understood, can liberate you from frustration, anger, and disappointment. Most people go through life believing that if they say the right things, behave in a certain way, or put enough effort into situations, they can control the outcomes. They believe that if they are kind, others will be kind in return. That if they work hard, they will always be rewarded fairly. That if they do everything right, life will go according to their plans. But reality does not operate on such predictable terms. People will act as they wish, regardless of your expectations. Some will appreciate you, others will not. Some will treat you with respect, and others will not. You may do everything perfectly and still be criticized, misunderstood, or even mistreated. If your peace of mind depends on how others behave, you are giving them the keys to your emotions, allowing them to dictate how you feel. That is not power, that is servitude. The moment you accept that control is an illusion, you step into true freedom. You no longer waste energy trying to force people to see things your way or make them behave as you wish. You no longer react to every unfair situation with anger or distress. Instead, you develop a mindset of detachment, not indifference but wisdom. You understand that life will unfold as it will, and your greatest power lies not in controlling it, but in choosing how you respond to it. Consider the ocean. A man can try to push back the waves with his hands, shout at them to stop, or even demand that they move according to his will. But the ocean does not listen. It moves as it always has, indifferent to human desire. The wise man does not fight the waves, he learns to surf. In the same way, you cannot control what people do or say, but you can learn to navigate through life without being swept away by every emotional tide. Many people resist this idea because they feel that letting go of control means accepting defeat. They believe that if they do not react with anger, they are allowing others to win. But that is a misunderstanding. There is nothing strong about being controlled by your emotions. There is nothing powerful about being provoked into a reaction every time someone upsets you. Real power is the ability to remain steady, unaffected, and in control of yourself when the world around you is chaotic. Think about how much unnecessary suffering comes from trying to control others. You want someone to respect you, but they don't. You want someone to apologize, but they won't. You want someone to understand your point of view, but they refuse. The more you try to force an outcome, the more frustrated you become. The more you depend on others for your peace, the more powerless you feel. But if you accept that people will do as they please, regardless of your desires, then you free yourself from their actions. You no longer take things personally because you understand that people's behavior is a reflection of them, not you. The next time someone says something hurtful or disrespectful, pause and ask yourself, do I need to react? Will my reaction change anything? Most of the time, the answer is no. Your anger will not make them more respectful. Your frustration will not make them see reason. Your stress will not improve the situation, but what it will do is disturb your inner peace. It will make you lose control of yourself, while the other person remains exactly the same. When you realize this, you start to see that emotional detachment is not about weakness. It is about choosing where to invest your energy. There is a kind of quiet strength in allowing the world to be as it is, without letting it shake you. When you stop trying to control everything, you begin to focus on the one thing you can truly master, yourself. And in that mastery, you will find peace. What bothers you today will likely be insignificant in a year, a month, or even a week. Yet, in the moment, it feels like the most important thing in the world. A rude comment, a disappointing situation, an unfair judgment. These things grip us, shake us, and steal our peace. But if you could step back, if you could see the bigger picture, you would realize that most of what disturbs you is temporary, fleeting, and ultimately powerless unless you decide otherwise. Perspective is everything. The mind magnifies what it focuses on. If you focus on offense, you will feel offended. If you focus on problems, they will consume you. But if you shift your gaze upward, beyond the present irritation, you will see that life is vast, time is fleeting, and most things that trouble you are not worth the energy they demand. Imagine you are flying in an airplane. When you're on the ground, a city looks massive, its streets endless, its noise overwhelming. But from 300 feet above, it all looks small, almost insignificant. The people below, rushing, arguing, stressing, they seem like tiny dots, their concerns barely noticeable from such a height. The same applies to your emotions. When you allow yourself to rise above a situation, to see it from a greater perspective, what once seemed unbearable becomes trivial. A great deal of distress comes from our inability to separate the moment from the grander story of our lives. When someone says something hurtful, our immediate instinct is to react as if it is a permanent wound. But think of all the times in your past when you felt deeply offended, when anger burned within you. How many of those moments still matter today? How many of those words still have power over you? Likely, very few. What once felt crucial faded into irrelevance because time revealed its true weight. Almost none at all. The ability to step outside of the moment, to see events as passing waves rather than tidal waves, is a skill that can be cultivated. It begins with a single question: will this matter in a year? If the answer is no, why let it matter now? Why surrender your peace to something that will soon be forgotten? Consider history. Entire empires have risen and fallen, yet here you are, living your life. The worries of those who lived centuries ago, their feuds, their frustrations, their grievances, where are they now? Gone, washed away by time, just as your present troubles will be. No one will remember the small injustices you faced, just as you have forgotten countless troubles from your own past. This is not to say that every struggle is meaningless, but rather that most of them are not as significant as they appear in the moment. The secret lies in detachment. Not detachment from life, but from the illusion that every irritation demands a reaction. Most things do not need your response. Most conflicts do not need your participation. The next time something threatens to disturb you, take a breath. Imagine yourself looking at the situation from a distant future, from the perspective of someone far wiser and calmer than you are now. What would that future self tell you? Most likely, they would say, "Let it go, move on, it's not worth it." It is said that when an elephant walks through a marketplace, dogs bark, children shout, and people may try to get its attention. But the elephant continues walking, unaffected, undisturbed. Why? Because it knows its path. It does not stop to argue with the dogs or engage with the noise around it. This is how one must approach life. Be like the elephant. Walk forward, unmoved by trivialities. Some may say, "But what if it's personal? What if someone deliberately tries to hurt me?" The answer remains the same. Will their words or actions truly alter the course of your life? Will they rewrite your destiny? The only way they can is if you allow them to. Power is not taken, it is given. When you react in anger, when you allow frustration to control you, you hand over your power. But when you remain still, when you rise above it, you reclaim it. There will always be something trying to pull you into the depths of irritation, but you have a choice. You can let the moment consume you, or you can recognize it for what it is, a brief ripple in the vast ocean of your life. And when you choose the latter, when you master the art of perspective, you will find a freedom greater than anything anger or reaction could ever give you. You will find peace, and with peace you will find power. The strongest minds do not react impulsively. They observe, reflect, and respond with wisdom. This is a lesson that takes years to master, but only moments to change your life. Imagine walking through a crowded street. Someone bumps into you, spilling coffee on your clothes. The immediate instinct might be frustration, anger, perhaps even confrontation. But pause for a second. What does reacting achieve? Does it undo the spill? Does it restore your mood? No. It only feeds the fire of irritation, giving power to an event that in the grand scheme of things is meaningless. People often mistake silence for weakness. They believe that if you do not retaliate, you are allowing others to walk over you. But what if silence is not submission, but supreme control? The ability to hold back an emotional reaction, to take a breath, and to decide, truly decide, whether something is worth your energy, is the mark of true strength. Those who lash out without thought, who let their emotions dictate their actions, are not strong. They are puppets to their own impulses, yanked around by external forces they have no control over. But those who master stillness, who choose when to respond and when to let go, they are the ones who truly hold power. To understand this, consider the ocean. At its surface, waves crash, tides rise and fall, and storms may rage. But deep below, at its core, the ocean remains calm, untouched by the chaos above. Be like that depth. Let the noise of the world, the insults, the provocations, the negativity remain on the surface. Know that your true self exists beneath it all, unshaken. One of the greatest advantages of cultivating this silence of strength is the ability to see things clearly. When you react in anger, your vision narrows. You do not see the full picture, only the immediate emotion that consumes you. But when you pause, when you take a breath before responding, you allow yourself the space to analyze the situation for what it truly is. Did the person insult you because they have something against you personally? Or are they projecting their own frustrations? Is the argument truly about who is right, or is it just a clash of egos? More often than not, people act from their own pain, their own insecurities, their own struggles. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, you give yourself the opportunity to understand, rather than to simply react. But this silence is not passive. It is not about suppressing emotions or allowing others to disrespect you. It is about choosing your battles wisely. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every comment needs a response. When you learn to control what affects you, you become untouchable. You develop an aura of calm authority that demands respect, not through aggression, but through self-mastery. This is not easy. The world will test you. People will try to get a reaction out of you, knowingly or unknowingly. But every time you succeed in remaining composed, you strengthen that muscle of self-control. And with time, it becomes second nature. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You no longer waste energy on things that do not serve you. You become someone who moves through life with a quiet, unshakable power. It is often said that the loudest person in the room is the weakest. Strength does not need to shout, it is felt. And so, as you navigate the challenges of life, remember this: every moment of irritation, every test of your patience is an opportunity to refine yourself, to build your resilience, to cultivate a presence that is calm, controlled, and wise. The moment you master the silence of strength, you will find that nothing and no one can shake you again. Every irritating situation in life, every difficult person we encounter, and every unfair moment we experience is, in reality, an opportunity, an invitation to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. But most people do not see it that way. They see irritation as an attack, as an inconvenience, as something that should not be happening to them. This is why they react with frustration, with anger, with resentment. They fail to recognize that life is not happening to them, it is happening for them. And if they can shift their perspective, they will come to realize that what once annoyed them no longer has any power. Think about the last time you were truly irritated. Maybe someone was rude to you. Maybe you were treated unfairly. Maybe things did not go as you had planned. What was your reaction? Did you feel the heat rise inside you? Did you replay the situation in your mind, feeling more and more justified in your anger? Now, ask yourself this: what did that reaction accomplish? Did it change what happened? Did it improve the situation? Or did it only rob you of your peace? The truth is, life will never be free of annoyances. People will be rude, plans will fall apart, injustices will occur. But what if, instead of reacting with irritation, you saw these moments as opportunities? What if, instead of allowing them to disturb you, you used them as training, mental and emotional training that sharpens your ability to remain calm, centered, and untouchable? Imagine a great warrior preparing for battle. Does he complain when the training is difficult? Does he resent the challenges he faces? No. He embraces them because he knows they are making him stronger. Every struggle, every hardship, every test is forging him into something greater. Life is doing the same for you. Every irritating situation is your training ground, an opportunity to strengthen your self-control, to master your emotions, to build a mind that is immune to chaos. The greatest people in history, leaders, thinkers, philosophers, were not those who reacted impulsively to every difficulty. They were those who had mastered themselves, who could remain calm in the face of adversity. They understood that strength is not found in reacting, but in restraining. The moment you allow something to irritate you, you are handing over control. You are saying, this situation, this person, has power over me. But what if you chose differently? What if, instead of reacting, you observed? What if, instead of anger, you chose curiosity? What if, instead of frustration, you saw the lesson? Next time someone disrespects you, pause. Ask yourself, is my reaction going to change this person, or is it only going to disturb my peace? What if you simply let it go? What if you smiled? Not out of arrogance, but out of the realization that their words or actions do not define you. They are acting out of their own emotions, their own struggles, their own limitations. Why should you allow their limitations to become your problem? Some will argue that letting things go means being weak, that if you do not stand up for yourself, you will be walked over. But strength is not found in reacting to every slight. True strength is found in knowing what deserves your energy and what does not. A lion does not stop to argue with barking dogs. It continues on its path, unbothered, undisturbed. There will always be people who test your patience. There will always be situations that do not go your way. But every single one of these moments is an opportunity to train your mind, to build an unshakable sense of calm. And the more you practice this, the less anything will be able to disturb you. So the next time you feel irritation creeping in, remember, this is a lesson, this is a test. This is your chance to rise above it. Smile, breathe, and move forward, because nothing, absolutely nothing, deserves to take your peace away. It is not you being attacked, it is your ego. This is a truth that, once fully understood, will set you free from the chains of anger, frustration, and irritation. Most of the time, when we get upset, it is not because of what was said or done, but because of how it made us feel about ourselves. The ego is fragile, constantly seeking validation, respect, and recognition. When it feels threatened, it lashes out. But here's the key. If you let go of your ego, you become untouchable. Think about the last time someone insulted you. Perhaps they questioned your intelligence, your abilities, or your character. Why did it bother you? Because deep down your ego felt the need to defend itself. You felt the urge to prove them wrong, to restore your image in their eyes. But what if you no longer cared about how others perceived you? What if you realized that their words held no real weight unless you gave them meaning? In that instant, the insult loses all power. It becomes nothing more than empty noise, a whisper in the wind. Consider this. If someone called you a terrible violinist, but you don't even play the violin, would you be offended? Of course not. You would simply laugh it off, because you know it has nothing to do with you. The same principle applies to all insults. When you truly understand who you are, when you detach from the need for external validation, no words can shake you. You become like the sky, untouched by the passing clouds. People often mistake detachment from ego as weakness. They think that if they don't defend themselves, they are being passive or submissive. But in reality, the strongest people are those who do not react. It takes far greater strength to walk away from provocation than to engage with it. Reacting is easy. It is instinctual, driven by the ego's need to assert itself. Resisting that urge, however, requires true mastery of the self. Look at those who remain calm under pressure. They are the ones in control. A person who loses their temper, who yells and fights back, is not strong. They are a slave to their emotions, but the one who simply smiles, who lets the insult pass without reaction, holds immense power. They have understood that dignity is not something given by others, but something that comes from within. Now, this does not mean you should tolerate disrespect or allow yourself to be walked over. It simply means you do not let external forces dictate your internal state. You address situations with clarity, logic, and strength, not with the blind rage of an ego that has been bruised. There is a difference between calmly asserting your boundaries and reacting emotionally. One is a sign of wisdom, the other a sign of weakness. One of the greatest lessons in life is realizing that you are not required to attend every argument you are invited to. When someone tries to provoke you, it is a trap. They want a reaction. They want to pull you into their chaos. The moment you respond, you step onto their battlefield, playing by their rules. But if you refuse to engage, if you remain centered, you strip them of their power. This is why detaching from ego is so freeing. It allows you to rise above petty conflicts. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to win arguments or demand respect. You simply exist in a state of peace, knowing that your worth is not determined by the opinions or actions of others. A river does not get offended when people throw stones into it. It does not stop flowing, nor does it change its course. It simply continues. Be like the river. Let people say what they will. Let them act as they please. Your response is your choice. The moment you realize this, you unlock a new level of freedom. You become immune to negativity, unshaken by the turbulence around you. The path to peace is not about controlling others. It is about mastering yourself. And the greatest mastery of all is learning to let